Hey guys, what's up? It's Monkey and welcome to the next game in the Washington Wizards season. Today we're going up against the Portland Trailblazers, who have a very good record. They are off to a 30-14 start. I believe they're currently the 3rd seed in the West at the time of this particular game. Us as the Wizards are currently 17-26 and the 11th or 12th seed in the East. So we are well out of the playoff picture at this point, and if we want to make the playoffs, we have to go on a hot start. The All-Star break is coming up in a couple weeks within this season, so we're going to have to go on a tear after the All-Star break if we do want to make the playoffs. Luckily, these Wizards are in the Eastern Conference, which is a lot easier to make the playoffs than in the Western Conference. So we start off the game with Bradley Beal just hitting a mid-range jumper here. And I wanted to win this game, although the Portland Trailblazers are going to be a really tough matchup for us. And why I felt that way is because they have LaMarcus Aldridge, who is a crazy good post player, although as you'll say, they chose not to use LaMarcus Aldridge very much, and also Damian Lillard. It's going to be a tough matchup for John Wall. In real life, John Wall is a very good defending point guard and probably one of the few guys in the league who can D-up Damian Lillard. However, I always play with point guard defense, and that's just kind of the way I'd like to do it, so I always control John Wall on the defensive end, or Jordan Crawford, or if he's in at the point guard, or Garrett Temple, or whoever's running the point. I always choose to control them as Trevor Ariza just pulls up for a long two in transition and nails it with the excellent release. It probably wasn't the best shot. I kind of faded away a little bit there as we steal the ball from Damian Lillard here, and Marcin Gortat picks it up, passes it to John Wall, who just lays it in kind of with the, I don't really know what you call it. He's trying to avoid the charge, but I believe Damian Lillard was in the restricted area anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered, but that was a pretty nice transition play from the likes of Marcin Gortat and John Wall. But Damian Lillard was probably going to be an issue this game. However, you'll see soon that he ended up maybe not being as much of an issue as I thought was initially going to happen. And LaMarcus Aldridge here dribbling. LaMarcus Aldridge did not get many chances to score during this game. Wesley Matthews took a ton of shots as he takes a deep two there and hits it. He's a good shooter though. PJ Tucker, who is not on the Trailblazers in real life, but I believe they traded Thomas Robinson for PJ Tucker and one other player, as we oop it to Trevor Ariza, and he catches the oop almost like behind his head and then slams it. That was beautiful. Very difficult play to pull off. And they're also starting PJ Tucker over Nicholas Batum, so I'm not sure if Nicholas Batum was injured or if they just felt like he was better coming off the bench. I don't know. Typically the CPU starts the highest overall players over players that are lower overalls, no matter what the situation is. And now we come up to probably the saddest moment in the entire game. Damian Lillard comes down in transition, just pulls up, wide open three, he hits it, but he also gets injured, and Damian Lillard also just disappears off the floor, and Damian Lillard did not play again the rest of the game. It was kind of weird how he got injured there, just on a wide open three, just pulling up and injuring his ankle or something on the way down, I suppose. That is an injury that happens quite a bit in 2K, and it's really annoying because typically people in real life, when they go up and down for just a wide open three, not contested, they don't injure themselves doing that. That's not really something that happens. Also, Damian Lillard is one of my favorite players in the NBA because Portland's my team, man, and I was considering doing a MyGm on them instead of the Wizards, but I love the Wizards as well. Jordan Crawford's now in the game, and he is making a statement, slamming it down in transition. So after Damian Lillard went out of the game, all of a sudden my job became much easier because Steve Blake was running the point for a little bit, and finally Nicholas Batum comes in the game. I'm again not sure if he's injured or what. Typically he runs the starting small forward. I know he is hurt, has been having some injury problems in real life. However, this game was not necessarily reminiscent of that because you can, in fact, choose to use the real-life injuries when you start a MyGm, but I did not want to do that because Bradley Beal was hurt in real life, and I didn't want him hurt in the MyGm, so I decided not to. Vince Carter hitting the three off the assist from, I believe, DeJuan Blair. So my bench mob is in the game now, and they typically perform pretty well. I have Jordan Crawford as my primary scorer off of the bench. And so now it's John Wall versus Steve Blake, and that's really not as much of a contest as Damian Lillard. And Trevor Ariza in this second quarter, which we're not quite to yet, but is coming up soon. Here we go. Now we're in the second quarter. Trevor Ariza just went absolutely crazy in transition as he hits the mid-range there, and there is a lot more to come. Not as many mid-range shots, I suppose, but there's a lot more transition with Trevor Ariza to come. Nick Batum is also in transition, hitting the little fadeaway contested jumper. Steve Blake is choking on the mid-range jumper. Now we're running in transition. You know who it is. It's Trevor Ariza. I'm lobbing it to him again, and he slams it down. So Trevor Ariza just completely went off, and I'm so glad to have him back on the team. Trevor Ariza was a part of the Washington Wizards for, I believe, 4 years, and in transition again, this guy is just nuts. And he slams it over Steve Blake. Not like that's a difficult thing to do or anything, but as every game goes by, I miss Paul Pierce less and less, and really appreciate the fact that we have Trevor Ariza more and more, because he's been really helping out on the defensive end as well, as Steve Blake just sneaks in there for a lay. And Steve Blake is a very sneaky player, as well as a good three-point shooter, but you kind of have to be if you're kind of short and relatively unathletic like he is if you want to have a long career in the NBA. Bradley Beal just hitting the beautiful, excellent release. I love it every single time you see those, because you don't get them all that often. It's quite difficult to get an excellent release, but when you do, it's going in. And LaMarcus Aldridge finally driving to the bucket. That was his first basket of the game at almost halftime here. And for whatever reason, the Portland Trail Blazers just refused to give the ball to LaMarcus Aldridge, which I don't understand, because he is their best player. Kevin Serafin also getting in on the excellent release club, and he hits the mid-range there. But especially with Damian Lillard out of the game, I do not understand why. And here, John Wall just stuffs Rolo, or Robin Lopez, but he manages to get the ball back, because that time where you have to recover after a block was a little bit crazy. But still, a 6'4" point guard stuffing a true 7-footer is really crazy. Finally, Marcus Aldridge, and I thought, okay, Damian Lillard is out of the game. LaMarcus Aldridge is just going to take over and bring his team, you know, the best opportunity that he can to win, but that turned out not to be the case, as John Wall, foot on the line, excellent release. That's like 3 out of my last 4 shots, I believe, were excellent releases, were nice, but we're running in transition again. You know who it is. Trevor Ariza always seems to be the man at the end of that break, which is great. You love players like that who are hustling, running in transition as hard as they can, and Trevor Ariza does that for me, as well as Jordan Crawford. He does that for me off of the bench, but he's kind of a point guard, and a point guard's job is typically to run as fast as they can in the break. But we're going down the break now with Martell Webster, my other small forward, off the bench, and he just hits the fading jumper to bring it to a 48-40 lead. So I'm doing pretty okay without Damian Lillard in the game until, well, in the third quarter, the Portland Trail Blazers made some adjustments as Vince Carter drove to the rim. But the Portland Trail Blazers made a lineup change that really bothered me in the fourth quarter. Not in terms of, like, it made me mad. It just really messed with my team and was very effective. And that really helped them get back into the game. But now DeJuan Blair driving to the rim a little bit, kicking it back out to Martell Webster, who's going to hit again another foot on the line, long 2, which seems to happen a lot in this game. I'm not really sure why players are so apt to be stepping on the 3-point line when they actually take those long 2-point jumpers, but Nicholas Batum is now running at point guard, and this became a huge problem for me. The Trailblazers must have been running pretty short on point guards. I guess they have Steve Blake, and they have not a whole lot else after that, so they had to run Nicholas Batum in at that point guard slot. And we go into the halftime here, we're up 53-46. Both of the field goal percentages are below 50%, so I did mess with the sliders a little bit, and those should be a little bit more realistic now. That's still a lot of field goals to take in the half, 46 field goals, but still, at least they're going in on a slightly lower rate, so we shouldn't have those 120-point scoring outputs anymore, as Bradley Beal gets the second half started off right with a long 2-point jumper. Wesley Matthews also getting on the jumper fun, but he misses, so we're running in transition again. Guess who it is? Trevor Ariza. He's continuing his first half shenanigans, dunking it over PJ Tucker there, who's just completely helpless. PJ Tucker is kind of short. I think he's like 6'5" for a small forward, so he has a really hard time defending Ariza, who happens to be 6'8" and quite sizable for the small forward position. Trevor Ariza here getting the rebound and putting it back up. He just boxed out PJ Tucker. Didn't really have much of a chance on the boards. So Trevor Ariza just everywhere doing work, doing all the hustle plays. But here, Nicholas Batum is back in at the point guard, which is causing issues for me. Nicholas Batum can sometimes be a primary ball handler in real life. He doesn't ever run the point guard slot, as far as I know at least. I guess maybe he would if Damian Lillard was to get hurt, but he's really tall for a point guard. He's like 6'8". So this caused some huge matchup problems for me, as he just pulls up over John Wall here. And yeah, Nicholas Batum wrecked John Wall. As good of a defender as John Wall is, that's a 4-inch height advantage, which really can cause problems. And also, Nicholas Batum is not only really athletic, but he's a very good jump shooter. So I couldn't sag off him, and I couldn't play him really tight either, because either way I'd just get burned. So that was a really good lineup movement, I suppose, by the Trailblazers. But Trevor Ariza, again, hitting the shot with the shot clock running down. I was completely unaware of how much time was left on the shot clock, and I was like, oh crap, with 1 second left. And just pulled up with Trevor Ariza, and he hits it. But the Trailblazers finally feeding it to LaMarcus Aldridge. I don't know what it takes for them to give him the ball, and he nearly gets it stripped, but it's kicked out to PJ Tucker, who hits the somewhat wide open 3. So he is a very good 3-point shooter. That's one of the things he does well, as being a good defender. at least when he's not at a serious height advantage like he was in this game. But John Wall here hitting the acrobatic layup. I have no idea how he got this to fall. He just kind of threw it from behind his head while getting fouled, and it actually goes in. This is probably one of the cooler animations that I've ever seen while playing 2K. And yes, he did in fact hit the free throw as well to cap off that wonderful finish. So the Portland Trail Blazers are a little bit on the ropes here, and that was just terrible defense by me. I was trying to hound the inbounder for some reason with John Wall, and their point guard Nicholas Batum just streaked up the court for the wide open three, and unfortunately Bradley Beal did not come over to help. And then Nicholas Batum again just slamming it on me in transition in the break. So I was experiencing some really big problems here, but Jordan Crawford is now in the game again, and what that means is I'm going to take a lot of shots with Jordan Crawford. Some of them will be very dumb, like that one, but that managed to go in, so I guess if a shot goes in, it doesn't matter how bad of a shot it was. But I force things a lot with Jordan Crawford because he's the only guy off the bench that can create shots, and people like Martell Webster and Vince Carter are pretty decent if you run them off screens and stuff, and Kevin Serafin is alright as well as he slams the ball there, but none of them are necessarily great scorers other than Jordan Crawford, so he really has to force the issue a lot, and sometimes that means my bench can kill me, and sometimes it means my bench can really extend that lead if he gets hot. The Portland Trail Blazers, again here, they're almost closing it back into the game, and PJ Tucker just pulls up in the middle of the lane there, and it's nearly tied after we were up by, I believe, up to 12. Jordan Crawford almost slams it there, and he can do that. He's a very, very athletic point guard. He's like 6'4", 6'5", so he has the height, he has the athleticism. Nicholas Batum comes down the other end, hits it, and punishes us, and now the Portland Trail Blazers are back in the lead for the first time since, I believe, the first quarter, so that's a little bit worrying because I thought I had this game well in hand after Damian Lillard went out of the game with the injury. Martell Webster hitting the long two there. I was kind of hoping he would extend out a three-point line. And finally, I make a defensive change here. I decide that Nicholas Batum is just killing us. So what I need to do is I need to put the bigger and better defender on him. Jordan Crawford cannot D up Nicholas Batum. And Martell Webster isn't exactly a world beater on defense, but he is solid, and he's got the height and at least some of the athleticism in order to defend Nicholas Batum. And that also means that when Trevor Ariza comes back in the game, since he's at that small forward position as well, he'll be guarding Nicholas Batum, and Trevor Ariza can definitely do a much better job than we had been doing previously against him. But we strip Wesley Matthews here, and that ends off the third quarter. Didn't manage to get a decent shot off, but at least we kept him from getting his shot off, and we head into the fourth with just a 3-point lead. One thing that I was actually really sad to see is Nicholas Batum did not run the point guard anymore during the fourth quarter. They started out the fourth with CJ McCollum running the point. That did not last long. They also put in Will Barton for a few minutes at the point, and he is a shooting guard, not a point guard. Will Barton is actually now in the game. They already gave up on CJ McCollum after like a minute, and they put Will Barton in the game to run the point, and he's running the point now, and he's okay. I mean, he's a nice young player. He's got some athleticism. He's got a jump shot, as you see that he's got some confidence as he pulls up with like 3 Wizards defenders in his airspace and just nails it. And after 2 minutes, they gave up on Will Barton as well, and then they put Alan Crabb in at the point, who's also a nice young player, but again, not a point guard. He's a shooting guard or small forward, and really doesn't have that ball handling skill. I'm not really sure what the Portland Trail Blazers were trying to accomplish running 3 non-point guards. I guess you could make a case for CJ McCollum being a point guard. He was a point guard in college, but he doesn't fill that role in the NBA, at least so far, as Nene gets the nice little floater slash runner slash something to drop there. And again, they have Alan Crabb running the point. I really just did not understand the logic behind this. It's not a very difficult thing to figure out. When Nicholas Batum was at the point, they were really having some success, or at least put Steve Blake in there or something. I don't know, but that's just what I would have done if I was the coach of the Trailblazers. John Wall slams it, and that's the problem with running people like Alan Crabb at the point. They can't defend John Wall because he just has too much quickness, and no one can keep up with him. No non-point guard other than Nicholas Batum, who's a very good defender when he tries to be. As Rolo misses his shot, but Steve Blake, the shortest dude on the court, gets the rebound and puts it back in. I'm not really sure what Steve Blake was doing standing underneath the basket while Robin Lopez was going to work, but whatever. And Robin Lopez really kept the Trailblazers in the game during this fourth quarter. Steve Blake hitting the 3 here, so I was just playing some dumb defense, sagging off him. I believe I was trying to defend him at least, but if that was me, I was sagging off him for whatever reason. But we also have a very effective point guard in John Wall, who misses that one, and Nene is luckily there to clean up his mess. But John Wall has been doing a great job lately in my last few games of closing out games and just really having some successes. We're running the break again. It's Trevor Ariza, our old friend, and he finishes around, I don't know, 4 Portland Trailblazers defenders. This guy just goes crazy. Every single time we start running transition, I bet his eyes just light up and he's like, I got this. And he goes for it. But Wesley Matthews hitting the long two here, who was a player who took a lot of shots during this fourth quarter, and to his credit, he made some of them, but typically when you take a lot of shots and you're not like a closer or a superstar player during the fourth quarter, that's not usually a good thing. As Trevor Ariza bails me out of that stagnant possession with a deep corner three, which is a really efficient shot, and Trevor Ariza is a very good three-point shooter. Passing it down to Marcin Gortat, who slams it. He didn't get very much action, mostly due to the fact that I just didn't give him the ball very much and an opportunity to score. It's not that he played poorly. He did some decent defense on Robin Lopez, although Robin Lopez just kind of go off. PJ Tucker with a nice cut to the rim there. He is a very smart player, and he'll do a lot of those sneaky things like backdoor cuts and stuff like that. But we are winding down in the game here, and the Portland Trailblazers really have to make a run here if they're going to have any shot. Rolo cleans up the mess from LA's missed shot, and he puts it back in. So Rolo just went off, and I'm really not sure why LaMarcus Aldridge didn't do much himself. But Trevor Ariza kicks it out to Beal, and Beal is working for John Wall, who hits, I believe, a 3 there, and that's really the nail in the coffin shot right there. That's the one that said, you know, this game is pretty much over. So we got it wrapped up here. There's a few seconds left, but Jordan Crawford, with no respect for the Portland Trailblazers, just slams it down in transition. I probably just should have held onto the ball there and waited until the clock run out to have a little bit more honor, respect, I guess. Not much sportsmanship to be had, but we win 112 to 106. Looking at the stats, Nicholas Batum in only 29 minutes had 23 points and 9 for 11 from field goal. Why was he not playing in the fourth quarter? I do not understand. And he had, I think, 19 out of those 23 points in the third quarter when he was running the point, so obviously very effective. LaMarcus Aldridge in 34 minutes went 2 for 8 with 6 points. What's going on there? I'm not really sure. So Marcus Aldridge probably had one of the worst games of his career, and if he was on track, the Portland Trailblazers would have had a much better chance to win, even without their star point guard and Damian Lillard. But Jamal Crawford was very nice off the bench with 14. John Wall had 20 and 11, and Trevor Ariza had 29 and 8 rebounds. Your player of the game right there. 12 for 17 shooting as well, which is incredibly efficient. And looking at the final team comparison, we shot 53% from the field. They shot 49%. Statistics are pretty decent, I guess. A lot more fouls during this game, which I wanted to see. Anyway, that's about all for this. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Farewell.